With only 4 rounds to go, it would take an incredible change of fortune to unseat points leader Grant Riddall. But if anybody is capable of unseating the the second generation driver, that person may be Thiago Canola. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jason White, and welcome to what is now round 6 of the HSO 1980 Procar Series from the Österreichring. And I'm joined in the booth by Alberto Ibañez. Alberto, good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
So I was just mentioning to our viewers that Grant Riddall has an incredible stranglehold on this championship. Let's take a look at the point standings as they stand right now. Grant Riddall has a 92-point total, and Thiago Canola is a distant second with 54 points. David Jakes is effectively out of the running with 40 after having some very unlucky disconnects. Jakob Fredriksson is 4th with 36 points, and Austin Johnson, who has since left the series, has 27 points. The point I would make to the viewers, though, they may think that if Grant Riddall wins today's race, then the championship is over. They would be incorrect in that assumption, because we have, after this round, 3 rounds to go. Let's assume for a moment that Grant Riddall wins this race, and in doing so has 112 points. If he didn't finish the next 3 races and Thiago won all of those 3 races, then he would have 60, so he would have 114 points and would win the championship by 2 points. So mathematically speaking, it's a very unlikely scenario. But even if Grant wins today and Thiago doesn't score any points, the championship is still technically open. So, anyway.
Yeah, it's still technically open, though it's obvious that everybody knows that with Grant's skills and with the lead that he has in the championship, it should be very, very bad luck that he would not finish in the next races. Anyway, anything can happen here, and we will see that in this track, this is a very fast track, anything can happen, because when lapping cars or when slightly losing control, the car is very easily going into barriers at very high speeds, and you can crash and completely damage it. It's also worth noting that people will be in this high-speed track trying to run as much grill tape as possible so that the car is quicker, and I know that many people are overheating the engines in qualifying, so let's see what happens in the race.
Yeah, I mean, the Österreichring, really, I think it's fair to say, is a driver's dream of a track. It's a really fast circuit with sweeping turns, and it's plunging and climbing through beautiful scenery. I mean, as a driver, you really couldn't ask for anything more. I think that our drivers will probably be able to explore the absolute handling limits of these BMWs. Probably the most tricky point as we go into the warm-up session now, probably the most tricky point on the circuit is going to be the Hella-licked S or curve or whatever you want to call it. It's really a gussied-up chicane. And this is largely because the entrance of that S is blind. You're running uphill and you can't even see the turn until you're right on top of it. And it has a rather awkward exit that doesn't really allow you to get the power down as much as you'd like. So hopefully the drivers will be courteous to each other at the start of the race when we get to that corner. I'm saying hopefully with my fingers crossed. We'll see. Of course, that first turn used to be a near flat-out right-hand bend. But of course they put in the Hella S as a response to the very tragic accident of Mark Donohue in 1975. The other turn that could potentially cause issues for the drivers, I think, would be the second to last turn on the course, Alberto, because that one has a bit of adverse camber, and if you get on the power too hard, you can very easily end up in the grass on the left-hand side. So those are the things that occur to me. It's a fast course and an enjoyable one, but you don't want to you really, really don't want to be lulled into a false sense of security, I don't think. Here is an aerial view of what the track looked like in it was in the 70s, probably. But you can see the lush countryside of Austria near Spielberg. A beautiful place to have a Grand Prix or any other kind of race for that matter.
Yeah, it's a beautiful track in the middle of mountains, very, very green surroundings all around. For some weird reason, it reminds me a lot of Road America.
No, I can see that.
Yeah, it's the same time with long sweeping corners, very quick track. It's a really a delight to drive. It's a beautiful, beautiful venue. But as you already said, also very dangerous one. They had to put the chicane, and with the years, the track underwent a massive revamp until it became the modern A1, where the Formula One
Yeah, they
used
took
to
a
race
Ginsu
there.
knife to it, quite frankly.
Yeah,
It's not
and then
a.
it's now the Red Bull Ring, became Spielberg. So,
Mhm.
but it's a track that still usually only attracts secondary series, and the Formula One has not been there in already some time.
So I'm looking for a driver here that we can go for a full lap with. I believe Martin Lacina is about to complete a lap
Yeah,
here. So
was about to recommend you following him because Martin Lacina is new here. He's not a regular in the Procar series. He has fetched a car for this race, and it's obviously one of the guys to watch because he's very quick. He has
oh
nothing to
goodness, he's got
lose.
some trouble now. He's got David Saber going off in front of him, but
Yeah,
he's going to
he got
recover.
distracted with that.
Okay.
He's a very quick driver, a very late breaker, as we all know, and he could very well spice up things in the race.
Okay,
One interesting thing is the. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
Oh, one interesting thing is the mindset that everybody will be having into this race because Grant is well relaxed because of the championship.
Yeah.
But for Thiago Canola and David Jacks, it's probably because they know they long term they don't have the chance to win the championship. It's also they are in relaxing mood and they can try to do even take risks or do anything so as to at least get partial wins here or podiums. So I think that we will be seeing some really competitive racing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely Grant's championship to lose at this point. He doesn't really have any need to push very hard. But having said that, he's been looking absolutely fantastic in practice. And as far as I could tell, his nearest competitor, Thiago Canola, even though he's been doing well as well, he just started setting times on the circuit today. So not to say that he hasn't been practicing in private, but I don't know. We'll see how the race unfolds. I think a lot of what's going to happen in the race is going to be determined by what happens on the Helelect S in the first lap, because it's such a high-speed circuit. Any small errors are just multiplied on a track like this. So if there's any detrimental situation that can happen there, or in the first turning, you see right there as Martin exits this corner, that's the one that has a bit of a drop-off, and it's a bit difficult to negotiate if you're trying to get on the power hard. Now, Martin Lacina is coming out of the final turn and onto the main straight, which plunges downhill and then uphill very sharply. He's completing this lap. Passes the start-finish line. The pits are on the right. Now he heads uphill, and you'll see right here. Here comes the Helelect. The only indication you have is the sign, but as you know, going up there, it's practically blind going in. Martin goes into the S, and you can see how the exit is really tighter than most of these drivers would probably like. Now accelerating out of the Helelect. A gentle left-hand turn here. And now into a really fast sweeping turn, downshifting into third gear, some of them maybe second gear, but you're helped here by the banking, and you can get on the power very early here and apply it very progressively around this turn.
And we come now into one of the most dangerous one in the track.
The Bosch curve.
In control of the car, yes. The Bosch curve is very dangerous because it's true the Helelect chicane is blind, but in this case it's not just blind until the last moment, but you also here have very hard time braking because you have to straighten the car before you can brake hard. So it's so easy to lose the rear.
It also tightens a bit too.
Yes.
After you've entered the turn. Now we're going into two relatively quick left-handers where the drivers.
This is one, but this next one gives you a very, very important false sense of security because it tightens a lot and it's very easy to overcook it here.
And then we come into this right-hander, the second to last turn of the track.
Yeah, this one has adverse camber too.
Yes, exactly.
You have to take it very, very carefully. You see how the car was spitted against the outside. And now this one isn't as hard as it would seem. I mean, you can brake hard here and it's somehow wide. The difficulty here is not as much avoiding a crash, but having a really good exit because that's what will give you here the best top line speed. and it's also because it's the place where you are more likely to overtake at the end of this straight for this braking area.
All right, so that's a tour of the track with Martin Lucena. Let's take a look real briefly at the car specs to remind everybody what these cars are. They are just about 3.5 liter DOHC inline sixes. Dual overhead cam power is 470 horsepower. Torque is 282 pound-feet at 7,000 RPM. The body is fiberglass. The frame is a box steel section. As PK would say, these cars are all about go and no handling. Top speed is about 192 miles per hour. We're not going to be seeing that today. The fastest they'll probably get up to is 160 plus before they get to the Bosch curve. One other thing we should point out, stuff that's coming up at HSO. Next Sunday, we return with the IndyCar Series for round 4 of the 15-race schedule. The Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 from Portland International Raceway, a very small but interesting track to run, Alberto.
Yes, it's certainly a very peculiar one with a very quick section on the back of the track, heading into a very dangerous chicane. It's a track that feels so small in these powerful Indy cars, but it also gives you lots of fun.
And then the following Wednesday, that's on April 14th, which is next Sunday. Then on the 17th, Wednesday, we have the return of 1996 British Touring Car Championship. It's the Audi Center's Family Motorsport Day. Ah, isn't that special? That's round 7 of 13, as I mentioned, on the 17th. And then on Sunday, the 21st, we go back Procar racing, this time in the sand dunes of Zandvoort in the Netherlands. That's going to be on Sunday, April 21st. So we have a little less than 2 minutes to go in this warm-up session, and I would say it's probably going to be an all-out battle royale between Grant Riddall and Thiago Canola. We'll see what happens. But what do you expect for this race? I know it's hard to predict, but...
Well, it's hard to bet against Grant.
Yeah.
Tire wear will certainly also be a concern towards the end, so it depends. If they put a lot of pressure on him, or if he feels that he has to push the car to get away safely, then he might overcook the tires, and we could see some surprises towards the end of the race. But you never know. With David Jackson, Thiago Canola there, you really have many options here.
And your son, Little Al, is going to be in the race today. Of course, I cut to him just as he's hitting the barrier. How's he feeling today with his car?
Well, he wasn't completely happy with the handling. He got the car a bit too little tail happy. He's not yet too savvy with setups, but well, I told him to take things calmly and just enjoy the race and try not to get into trouble. So many times when you have that approach to a race is when you get the best results. So we'll see.
Yeah, but it's one thing to say that, but when that green light comes on, it's very easy for that good advice to go right out the window.
Yeah, it's the deeper you are down the grid, of course, the more danger there is for you, because you're obviously surrounded by cars and all the incidents until the field stretches and clears up. So it's never the best place to be. The best place is always on the pole.
All right, and by the way, to remind everybody, that S section that's in the lower left half of the track, that is going to be where we're going to have very intent attention at the start of this race, because who knows what will happen there. The warm-up is concluded, and as you can see from the graphic, we'll be going 25 laps or 92.3 miles today, and what is amounting to round 6 of this series. We meant to do Hockenheim as round 6, but as many of you know, we had technical difficulties with the server and we couldn't run the race, so that race has been rescheduled for another weekend that we happen to have open. So for now, the Österreichring will have to be our round 6. Siren is sounded. We're going to the race. 25 laps. Grant Riddall is on pole, which is not a huge surprise. So we are going to wait for him to go to the grid, and then we will take you through the grid as they go around on their formation lap. Grant, as usual, taking his sweet time getting to the grid.
I don't know if he's trying to make everybody nervous.
I think it's
just that he doesn't want his car to overheat.
I think it's more the latter. Grant's not the kind of guy who engages in that kind of gamesmanship. That's usually stuff I would assign to other people, but not.
And probably also with the championship, almost being in his back, probably no incentive for doing that either. Mm-hmm. Let's see.
All right, so here we go. Off on the formation lap. On the pole, Grant Riddall in the Project 4 car. Second place is Thiago Canola, BS Fabrications, so that'll be really interesting to see at the start of the race who gets the upper hand going into Halalicht S. Third, David Jakes in the Manfred Cassini Racing entry. Fourth, Martin Lucina in another B&S Fabrications car. Fifth, Peter Hlavik, Scuderia Basilia. Sixth, Brian Janik driving the BMW Austria entry this time. Seventh, John Team in the Merzario team entry. Eighth, Jason Whitehead in the Marlboro Marco Rennsport entry. Ninth is David Saber in the Sauber Racing Switzerland entry. 10th, Jakob Fredriksson, Eggenberger Motorsports. 11th, Juha Boss, Sauber Racing Switzerland. 12th, Ray Riddall, GS Tuning. 13th, Steve Parker, Kanatra GT entry. 14th, Cesarius Lipinski, B&S Fabrications. 15th, Lucas Vidra in the other Merzario team entry. 16th is Adam Hackman, Jurgensen and Sun Racing. 17th, Little Al in the Team Schnitzer entry. Timo Vermeer starts 18th in the Zoll Auto BMW. 19th is Yves Placé, B&S Fabrications. 20th, Gerard Rion, GS Tuning, which is the BASF car. 21st, David Saber in the other GS Tuning car. 22nd, Francois Remen, Olimpo Motorsport entry. 23rd, Bruno Chacon in the Scuderia Basilia entry, the second one. John Cook starts 24th in the Team Schnitzer entry. He's from Canada. Jan Kowalski is 25th. 26th from Argentina, Gerardo Magano. 27th, Michael Griffiths, another B&S Fabrications entry. And rounding out the field is Jan Prusa in another Team Schnitzer entry. That's your field of 28 cars.
So yeah, full grid again. Lots of cars. We'll see how many remain after 4 or 5 laps. But anyway, it's always great to see so much attendance here at the HSO races.
And we'd like to say hello to everybody who's watching us on YouTube from all over the world. We appreciate your loyalty to HSO, and we hope that you enjoyed today's broadcast. We thank you also for your patience after the difficulties we had with the last broadcast. It's not fun for us, and I'm sure it wasn't fun for you, but those things do happen. But here we are, back on the beam, as it were, and looking forward to an excellent race today on a circuit that I dare say nobody dislikes. Here comes Grant up to the line now. Thiago Canola second, David Jakes is third, and Martin Lucina fourth. 4 real heavy hitters in the first 2 rows here, Alberto. They come to the line, so we're waiting for the rest of the cars to get in line. When they come to the Hella S, Licht S, it's going to be harem scarum time, hopefully. Hopefully there will be no serious incidents. So we're waiting for starters' orders now. You can hear the drivers nervously tapping on the revs. Okay, we have starters' orders. Listen for the green. Everybody pay close attention. Here we go. The lights are coming on. And the race is underway. Grant has an excellent getaway. So does Thiago Canola. Heading up the hill. But look, here comes David Jakes up into second place before they even get to the Halalicht. And it looks like Thiago might lose third place as well as they head into the Halalicht S. It is Grant Riddall leading. David Jakes is in second place. Thiago is third. Martin Lucina fourth. Car is spinning through. It looks like we have a slight bit of contact.
Oh, my goodness. Jason Whited, Steve Parker, Cesarius Lapinski, Bruno Chacon, all involved in that racing incident.
Oh my goodness, we have another incident coming up here. Several cars spinning. Oh my goodness, there's lots of contact. Oh goodness, it's going to take forever to sort this one out. We have 2, 3, 4 cars up in the grass after the second turn. It looks like most of them are going to be able to continue. Look out! Oh my goodness, there was almost contact as one car came back on the track. Good grief. Well, Grant Riddall leads. David Jakes is in second, as we mentioned. And now we have an intramural battle developing between Thiago Canola and Martin Lucena, the two B&S Fabrications cars. So we mentioned that the margin for Thiago and the chance for him to contend for the championship is small. I mean, he's got David in front of him now, and I'm sure that that's not going to be helping him, or he's not going to be happy with that. But
so Steve Parker has retired.
Oh,
sorry to say.
I'll tell you what, Steve Parker just cannot catch a break lately, and that really, it's upsetting because he's a driver of a lot of talent, and he just has more bad luck lately. If he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. So very sorry that Steve's out of the race. Anyway, we're completing lap 1 now. Grant Riddall's in the lead. David Jakes is in second. Thiago Canola, that you're riding with, is third. Looking back from his car, you see it's Lucena in fourth. Coming up to the Halalicht turn. Lots of smoke as everybody tries to haul these cars to a stop. They're not very stable under braking, as you might guess. So now we're heading up this long hill. Looks like David pulled out a little bit of a gap here. And actually, it looks like the actual battle here is going to be between, and it is between Martin Lucena and Peter Hlavek. Peter Hlavek is looking for a way around Martin. Martin swings a bit wide here. This may be Hlavek's chance. He's lined up right behind. He's got a head of steam now, so maybe he can pull it off before they get to the Bosch curve. He goes down the inside. This is an extremely tricky spot. Oh, he backs out of it early. He was in the wrong spot to do that. That was a smart move.
Too dangerous there.
Way too dangerous.
Hlavek saw it very well.
So that's good heads up and mature driving from Peter. Now they exit the Bosch curve, coming up to these two left-handers. Looks like Peter has the measure on Martin here, at least early, so we'll see if he can capitalize. Lucena seems to be struggling under braking to keep that car pointing straight.
He's overcooking it a bit in corner entry, and he's leaving many black rubber marks there. And I would guess that his setup is not exactly ideal for this track, or a combination of his style of driving and the setup, because it's actually quite limited in these cars what you can do setup-wise. But the way he's smoking the tires.
Oh, look at this! He's looking on the inside of the final turn, but he can't get it done. Coming off
He'll
of
pay
it.
praise for this later in the race, I can tell you.
He's got a head of steam heading up the hill. Goes to the inside. I think he's got enough space to get this done. Side-by-side racing into the Halalicht. Look at Martin hang on.
Outbreaking
Wow.
Lucena is always hard.
Look at Martin hang on. That was fantastic. Beautiful driving. Yeah, you're in the camp of people who keep pointing out that Martin is one of the best we have at HSO, and there's a good example. Here comes Peter on the outside again, but you can see he shuts off early there. He knows that that's not a good place to pass there. Is he just playing a psychological ploy on Martin, do you think?
Maybe so. He's trying to force him into some kind of error, but I would say that they also have different setups, because in these cars, as soon as you add a bit more wing, the rear becomes much more planted, but you lose a lot of top speed, and it would seem to me that Peter has less wing than Martin, and that's the reason why Martin is somehow all over the place. But then Peter he's not catching up with him in corners so much, but then in the straights he does. So let's see how this pans out, because if they have different setup, then it always provides for some interesting racing, because obviously each car has a strength in a different place than the other, and the driver has to make up for that with his driving.
Meanwhile, Thiago Canola is right with David Jakes now. So we may see a pass for second place here. He's shadowing him really well into the last turn here. And you can see how, you have to feather the throttle sometimes in some of these turns. You're helped in some cases by banking on these turns, but in others, you're not helped very much, and the car can be skittish. Grant has set the fastest lap of the race so far, 1 minute 53.494. Entering the Halalicht starting lap number 4. You can see how it's very, very tricky threading the needle through there. Looks like for now David's going to be safe, but here comes this long drag up to the to this really, really fast right-hander. Little fade to the left here, and it looks like Thiago's going to go for it. He's looking down. No, he didn't. He thought better of it. Just didn't have quite the room that he needed. Oh yes, I have made an error. I believe I mentioned earlier on YouTube that Dave Miller was not in the race. I was incorrect. He is actually in the race, running 8th. Thank you for that correction, Mr. Yunt. So we will, as things settle down here, we will page back through the field here and see what else is going on. I'm sure there are other good battles. Lucina.
Yeah, interestingly, the field is everybody has a dancing pair, because they are in pairs all over the race. You see
Fredriksson.
Fredriksson, yeah. Right behind them, there's Dave Miller and Juha Boss.
Yeah, Fredriksson looking for a way to get by John Thiem. And here's Jakob Fredriksson having a look, but there's a 3-car battle here between Dave Miller, number 91, and I believe that's Juha Boss in the Poo car. And right behind them is Brian Janik. But Janik's the one who has probably the best chance to overtake here. Juha, who is running in 9th place. Janik is 10th. And you remember that the top 10 are the ones who score points here. So these are the points-paying positions we are watching here. Lucas Vidra having a good race so far, running in 11th place. Here comes this is Janik coming up to the Halalicht, but people are being very conservative shutting off for this turn, probably because they know that if you have an incident here, you're likely going into the grass, and the curbs are very tall there, so no one's really willing to stick their neck out right now. Maybe that'll change towards the end of the race. We'll see.
It isn't any easy to try to outbrake someone when you have a blind corner coming. So
yeah, when you don't have a point,
they are careful.
When you don't have a point of reference. Plavik continuing to shadow Martin Lucina, hasn't made any headway there.
So Lavak, yeah, it's coming now close, but this is, like I said, a very dangerous spot to be. You have look at what happens here. They have to have the car completely straight, and look how Peter's car moved a lot on the braking.
Oh, it looks like Thiago might have a shot here. They're coming off of the Bosch curve. Now, David doing an excellent job of defending this position. Meanwhile, Grant has not really checked out like we would expect him to. He's only 2.5 seconds in front of these two. So assuming
I think that he's a bit concerned about the tires, probably.
Maybe.
Unless he really needs it, he won't be pushing the car much.
Looks like Thiago got in the grass there for a second, so it'll slow his momentum slightly. Same for Peter Lavik, and it's in that corner that we talked about, the one that's adverse camber, and it's not an easy corner to negotiate. Meanwhile, Juha Boss and Brian Janik still very close together, which should give Dave Miller a little bit of psychological relief. He knows that Juha can't focus all his attention ahead of him. He's got to be looking behind him as well. Janik is clearly looking for an opportunity to get by, but he just doesn't quite have the oomph to get by Juha when they get to the Halalicht. That makes me wonder what kind of wing settings everybody's running. Conventional wisdom would say you run the lowest wing possible because it's a high-speed track. What are your thoughts on that, Alberto?
Yeah, that's what you would normally expect in a track like this, but this is a very peculiar car, and only the top drivers, the really the aliens of this game, are able to run it as it was in real life with a minimum wing. Mark Suter, who did a lot of testing for this, he already commented that on the real car and said, well, if you want the car to behave, especially at top speed, you need to add wing. And if you add wing, you are slow. So the trick here, what the best drivers did, was run with the lowest ping and live with it. And it's the same here. It seems to me that everybody is running the wing in the second position, not in the first, and not even Grant, probably, because of the top speeds we are seeing.
Looking back towards the front here, and nothing has changed. Thiago is still right behind Dave Jakes, but he seems to be faster than David through the last series of turns here, which is critical because it could give him the steam he needs to get by him before the Hella S. And he's on the inside here looking on the final turn, but just doesn't quite have the momentum to get by. Exiting this turn here, I mean, how early you can get the power on is critical because you're going down this straightaway. It's a downhill section, and then it goes sharply uphill before the first turn. And again, Thiago is way too far back to attempt anything here. Heading up the hill into the first turn. Oh, but we do have a potential pass for position here. Look at this. Here's Peter Hlavik looking to get by. This is the view from Fredriksson's car. Looks like he does it. Just barely. Just barely nips by.
In a very difficult place to pass.
Very difficult. Let's have a look at that on replay. This is a replay of the pass that just occurred. You see Martin Lecina in the green and white B&S Fabrications entry, and out pops Peter Hlavik. On the inside, he's got the place wrapped up right there. There's nothing Lecina can do. He has to concede the corner. Textbook pass going into that corner. Very, very well executed. So now Peter Hlavik sets off in pursuit of the top three, but he's gonna, it doesn't look like Lecina's gonna take this line down. He's right with him there still. Coming now into the Bosch curve, or through the Bosch curve. Oh goodness, looks like Lecina might have been caught off guard by Peter's braking point there. Coming through these two left-handers. This second one, I agree, Alberto, is a bit difficult. It's especially difficult. I remember when we did this this track for F171 last year, and that second left-hander there in the kind of bowl section of the track, if you get that one wrong, the car gets all crossed up. It's no fun.
Yeah, because it's not that the turns are especially difficult, but the speed is so high, and the track is not really the widest around, so you have to be very precise. If you are not that precise, then it's so easy to get it wrong and overcook it at the entry and, well, head for the grass.
Jakob Fredriksson looking up on the inside of Martin Lecina. Can't get it done, but Fredriksson is definitely trying to put something together here to get by Lecina and up into 5th place. It's going to take him a bit, though. I think he's got to find the right spot. And as you pointed out, Martin Lecina is not the easiest guy on the course to pass. Meanwhile, Dave Miller continues to run in 8th place ahead of Juha Boss and Brian Janik. Or actually, Janik has gotten by Juha Boss. We missed that. So that puts him up into 9th place. And now Brian Janik is going to set his sights on Dave Miller. So Janik is one on the move. We come down to the Bosch curve here. That big grandstand looming in front of the drivers. You see the people on the hill here. Very nice modeling for this version of the Österreichring.
It is, yes. It captures very well the atmosphere of the track.
And the gorgeous scenery that the drivers have no time to look at. Heading through these very tricky left-handers. Dave's got a little bit of breathing room here, so he's probably not sweating too much, but as the tires wear down and as people's attention gets frayed, we may see some late race big moves that might occur all over the place. You remember how tricky it was for us to keep track of things at Brands Hatch towards the end because there was so much action going on everywhere. I would expect to see the same thing happen in this race.
Yeah, I was about to say that you can see that the cars are getting much more sideways than at the beginning of the race, even if we're only eight
Yeah,
laps into
yeah,
it.
we're only
And
starting
that's
lap
because
9.
of hardware, yeah.
And as fast as a circuit as this is, it's not a Hockenheim situation where it's a stop, start, stop, start. And the only time you have any real drifting is when you go through the stadium. There's a lot more, the tires get used a lot more through these turns than you would in, I mean, the only turn that probably compares would be the Ostkurve as far as...
Whoa, Fredriksson getting by. They're good move there on the inside on Martin Lasina, who somehow missed the reference point on braking.
Oh, but it looks like Lasina's coming back on the outside. And he's in the right spot for the next turn coming up. Of course, then you've got the Bosch curve, but here comes Fredriksson on the inside. He's potentially going to run a... Oh, guys, whoa! They are playing it very close to the vest.
Yeah, it's so tricky to be there braking while the car is turning. You can't do that really. As soon as you touch the brake, all the big engine weight that there is on the rear of the car starts moving to the front.
Oh, Lasina's actually, he had a very slow entry to the first left-hander, and I think it caught, in this case, it caught Fredriksson off guard. Now we'll see if Fredriksson can gather some momentum in the last two turns here. But Lasina seems to be better in that turn than he is. Had much better purchase coming out of it. Last turn upcoming. Very critical because it determines your speed as you come up to the chicane. Martin Lasina runs way wide. He's having a lot of trouble keeping that car under control, or he has been from the moment the green lights came on, frankly. And Fredriksson is too far back to make an attempt here. Going into the Halilicht turn, right with Lasina. Meanwhile, okay, Janik is getting very close to Miller here. We'll see if he can put something together. But he also has Juha Boss about the same distance directly behind him in 10th place, even though that Brian dispensed with him a while back.
Oh, David Savary has quit. There are many retirements already. Jason Whitey, David Savary, and Kowalski.
I think a great deal of them may have come from the incident that we saw.
Look at David Jacks now, trying to overtake Thiago Canola.
He's trying. He's getting close, but I believe we have one other... Oh! Fredriksson goes off the track in the Bosch curve. He impacts the outside wall. It wasn't that hard of a hit. Hopefully he'll be able to continue. Let's watch a replay of this now. This is Fredriksson pursuing Martin Lasina. As they come down to the Bosch curve, he had a really close call there in the previous lap, and maybe the same kind of situation happened where he just ran out of room. Yes, he's going down the inside, the left-hander that leads into it. And yeah, he ran out of room there, it appears. Let's have another look at this.
It briefly touched. And
yeah, there was a brief...
stabilized the car. But I think he was shutting the door too early on Martin there.
It looks like he just lost control of the car under braking. He just started pitching weird, and he touched Martin, and that was it. The good news is that he didn't seem to incur much damage, and it didn't seem to cost Martin very much. But, man, I mean, it looked like they were courting disaster with the last altercation. Well, not altercation, but they had that previous time around at the Bosch curve was pretty close to being a problem, and it, I think they went a little bit too far there. But thankfully, they're both going to be able to continue. David Jake still in third place, but he is right with Thiago Canola. Grant Rudall has opened up a lead now. He is leading these two by 5.5 seconds. David tucked right behind Thiago Canola, looking for a way by as they head to the Bosch curve once again. He's not going to try anything here.
I think as the battle increased between these two, Grant was able to open a gap.
I think, that little left-hander that happens just before the Bosch curve in a way has a bit of a chilling effect on if you're going to make an attempt there, because it's very hard in these cars especially to brake and haul him to a stop in that corner when you have that slight fade to the left. These cars do not like to brake on a turn. It's much better to brake with them in a straight line. And that makes it really touch and go heading into that turn. And it's unfortunate because that's the fastest part of the course and the best chance you would think to get by, but maybe it's just the nature of the cars. I don't know.
No, it's absolutely the nature of the cars, because you have to take into account all the weight that is in the rear. These are cars that will slightly understeer corner entry, but then the weight in the rear means that they will start to try to get sideways unless you're giving some gas to settle the rear. And then if you give too much gas, they will be sliding. So it's a bit of a fine thread that you have to walk over.
Meanwhile, Dave Miller now is right with John Team, who is running in 7th place. Looks like he might be sizing him up to make a move at some point here. Not here. He's too far back, but just a corner or two ago, he was very close. And he has got another car directly behind him. Yes, it's Janik still.
Yeah, there's some cars starting to pile up behind John Team. Probably he's quick, but he doesn't seem to have that much of a rhythm, and several cars are catching up with him. And well, this could result in some delicate situation, because when everybody starts getting angry and willing to pass, then anything can happen.
All right, so Dave Miller shadowing John Team here. They're coming up to the Bosch curve. He's got a good head of steam behind him, but again, he's just too far back. So I think a lot of what's going to be happening late in the race here is just people either running out of attention or just, into a psychological ploy. But here, oh goodness, he's definitely right with him now. He might be able to pounce going through these two left-handers, because it looks like John's having difficulty controlling the back of his car. Yeah, he's definitely unsure of himself. Swings out wide. Here comes Dave down the inside. He might have a shot going into the next turn. No, he decides to back out of it. Probably a smart thing to do. He knows that John's not. And look at how much Dave runs onto the curb there. You have to be careful with that, because the anti-cut system is in effect on this track. And if you don't have the lowest ping on the server, the game could mistake that as being a cut. You got to be careful about that. I've seen that in other situations. So they're coming out
of... has to take some defensive actions against Brian Janik.
Yeah, Janik, in those two moves that didn't pan out, that allowed him to close up as they head up the hill. So this very quickly is going to become a 3-car battle.
John Tim does seem to have less top speed than Miller and Janik there.
You wonder what wing he's running.
Yep.
But he seems to be doing better in the turns. I would venture to guess that he is running maybe a 2 rear wing and not a 1. It allows him to grip better in some instances. But then under braking, he looks a bit unstable. So maybe it cancels that out. Here they are coming to the left-hander. Dave Miller, as you may remember, had a really excellent race at Brands Hatch right up until the last lap, when a bunch of things started to go wrong. I'm sure he's wanting to improve on that finish. I mean, he got a lot of good TV time for all the right reasons.
Here comes Dave Miller.
Here he comes. He pops out. He's got good speed. Yeah, he made the pass before they even got to that left-hand fade. Excellent overtake. Mrs. Dave is going to be liking that, and it looks like there's more going on behind them between just on the at the end of that pass. It looked like Janik was trying to follow Miller through, but he couldn't get it done, and now there's a small gap that's opened up.
Yeah, then obviously John Tim had to brake a little bit earlier, because Dave Miller has squeezed by, so Brian Janik was maybe a bit surprised by John Tim braking earlier. And he had to change lanes, and of course the car immediately started fishing.
Meanwhile, Brian is staying right with the team now. And Juha has got the $75 seat for this one. He's just watching points on these three in front of him. Yeah, they're all about evenly spaced now. And Jakes has lost a bit of ground to Tiago. Tiago's got a little bit of room in front of him. And they're about to catch and lap Gerardo Magnano from Argentina. This is his second HSO start. I don't think that's going to probably play into anything, but yeah, we're starting to have cars being lapped. Gerardo's one of them. Bruno Chacon is another one in 22nd place. But there's plenty of room on this track. It's definitely not narrow, so I don't expect, yeah, there's plenty of room there. I don't expect lapping to be a problem with these cars at this particular race.
Yeah, it's not the widest of the tracks, but
It's not the narrowest either.
The tracks, the turns are quite open.
Yes.
And that helps a lot, except in the few blind spots, you usually don't have lots of trouble lapping.
All right, so it is now lap 14. So we're past half distance in this race. And we've seen already that tire wear is causing issues for some drivers. So,
yes, exactly. Considering how much the cars are moving, just imagine in 10 laps more.
Coming up to the top of the hill here, and there are now 10 laps to go in this race, just that quickly.
Not a lot of action now that all cars are more spread.
Although David Jakes is now catching Thiago. He might have another shot here before the race is over, but who knows? Yeah, but it has spaced out quite a lot towards the back. Dave Miller running 7th now. Team is shadowing him in 8th. Janik still right with him in 9th, and then 10th is Juha Boss. 11th, running all by himself, is Lucas Vidra. He's probably going to be hoping for something to go wrong in front of him so he can pick up 1 point. But even so, Lucas has had some dicey races both in this series and in IndyCar, so a nice finish for him will definitely boost his confidence. 12th right now is Timo Vermeersch, which is a fairly good drive considering some of the previous ones he's had. They didn't work out so well. Adam Hackman is running 13th. 14th is Jan Prusa, who started dead last, so that's quite an improvement. It's like he's basically made up half the grid slots, which is no small feat. 15th is Ray Rodal. 16th, Yves Placé. 17th is Alberto Aquino. I just cut to him, and again, he's having a bit of a dramatic action against the curb.
Yeah, I've seen him already do that once, and he almost turned over the car. He's hitting the curves probably too hard. 18th
is Cesarius Lipinski, and you notice on these cars they've got some obvious damage to the front. These are some of the cars that were obviously part of the initial kerfuffle that went on after on lap 1. Michael Griffiths is 19th. 20th is Gerard Rion. 21st, John Cook. 22nd is Bruno Chacon. 23rd, and running slowly is Gerardo Magnano. It looks like he might have had an off. Yes, he did. This is a replay. Looks like he lost control in one of those left-handers. Let's see what happened here. He runs wide. Looks like he just missed his braking zone and slides off the track and just gently taps the fence there, but he's able to continue.
Whoa! Look at Brian Janik now. He's trying to overtake John Tim, and he almost got him there in the inside of the chicane.
Oh, he almost did.
Taking some risks there.
Well, Janik is he's a wily guy. He's not going to sit back and wait for things to happen. He likes to make things happen. So we'll see what happens here. Janik exiting the second to last turn here, coming up to the last turn. Let's see what happens here. Or no, wait, sorry, I was disoriented for a moment. We're now coming up to the Bosch curve. Yeah, there we go. This is the closest battle on the track at the moment between these three. And all it's going to take really is for one of these guys to make a mistake, and then one of them will get by. But so far, they seem to be racing pretty clean. Dave Miller, Dave the Pooh, as he has been christened on YouTube. Not my doing, Dave. Sorry. Fredrickson pretty well established now in 6th place. And Martin Lucena in 5th after a pretty shaky first few laps. A lot of people crawling all over him to get by.
David Jackson had lost a bit of ground, but he's again on.
Yes, he's back with him again, so we could yet see David challenge for 2nd place here. We'll see. Grant is now leading by 9 seconds. It begs the question, Alberto. This is a series that is in many ways like the IROC series that is supposed to take the mechanical element out of the series, and it's more about driver skill. You would think in a situation like that it would provide parity between drivers, but if anything in this series, we've seen the exact opposite. Grant is basically, whatever there is about these cars, Grant is taken to them like a duck to water, and he's just romped away from everybody. I mean, to be fair, he has been helped by some very bad luck to David Jakes, but it is pretty surprising, I would think. At least I think so. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what happens here is that when you have a spec series, and especially if the setup is quite locked, then it's all about pure driving talent.
Yes.
And in this case, well, that gets magnified. And I think Grant is obviously the most talented guy around in the grid, maybe with Austin Johnson's permission, who isn't here now. But when you are on these cars, then obviously the talent is going to be nearly everything. Because you can't really do much with the rest of the car. For example, there are other races where you have the ability to use the setup to your advantage. That's something, for example, that brings someone who is on a very good level as David Jacks to the race-winning level. You also have other races where you have strategy to play out and being there very constant and not just driving the wheels of the car. But in this case, we are on sprint races on almost equal machinery, and that means that pure talent is the thing that becomes paramount here. That's the reason why we had, for example, David Jacks winning the Formula 1 91 championship some years ago, and even having a display of superiority that was unbelievable, considering that there were many people with incredible raw talent in the grid, like Greg Wasson and other very quick drivers. But the thing is, there were other factors in play. Very long races, nearly 2 hours in the case of the Formula 1s, strategy, ability to conserve the tires. When all this come into play, then, well, racecraft and other qualities mean that you can be there fighting for the championship. I think this is also the same thing that happened in Formula 1, for example, to people like Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna. Nobody would deny that Ayrton Senna was the quickest driver around, even probably by a big margin. But then on the same machinery, when we come into strategy, setup and all that, then Alain Prost was nearly on par with him. And they were very tight in championships. I mean, it was all decided in those stupid accidents on aggressive maneuvers.
You got to take into account, too, two very large egos in the same team, which is never a good idea. And it's a lesson that, frankly, McLaren has failed to learn, given multiple chances to learn it. In any case, I guess you're right. It underlines, really, that Grant is just that good. That's the takeaway from this series, I guess. And Grant, of course, is already won a championship in HSO competition. He won the kart championship, 88, the previous incarnation that we ran on R Factor platform, and that was a fantastic series where he definitely had strong competition in the form of David Yunt and Jakob Fredrickson. Or I'm sorry, wait a minute. No, Fredrickson won that championship. Grant was very close to winning it.
Grant won the Formula 1 71.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Thank you. That's the one I'm thinking of.
And Jakob won IndyCar 88.
Yes. Thank you very much. Jakob won 88. Grant was in the running for that one. Grant won the 71 championship, but that one went right down to the wire between him and Coxon.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like, we got about 5 laps to go here, roughly, and David, to his credit, is staying right with Thiago. They've got to overtake John Cook here, who does his best job to get out of the way. Good driving on his part, because they were coming up to a rather dicey corner, the Bosch curve, and he got out of the way well. Exiting Bosch now.
Yeah, one of the worst places to find someone to overtake.
Well, that's no reflection on John. He simply was.
No, actually,
Yeah.
the more power to him. I mean, all the credit goes to how swiftly he moved out of the way.
Yes. Let's have a look further back in the field here to make sure we're not missing anything. Looks like everyone's pretty well established. Miller is still 7th. John Team is still 8th. Brian's in 9th. And Juha's in 10th. So yeah, nothing's changed back here, although now it looks like Team is actually pretty close to Miller, and they're coming up on Bruno Chacon, who's they've caught at a rather awkward moment, looking to get. Oh, there's contact between Chacon and Miller, but thankfully there doesn't seem to be any serious problem here. But now Team is bottled up behind. Oh goodness, that's very costly for John Team, because he lost a lot of momentum there. He was right with Miller. And that probably was, I mean, the Bosch curve is not a good place to be caught when you're overtaking, but that's probably the first real miscommunication we've seen.
Yeah, there's only a single line through that corner,
yeah,
especially due to that burst camber, so it's very complicated to get by there.
So Bruno Chacon is going to be getting a fruit basket from Dave Miller. But you can see now that we're almost back basically to where we were before that quickly, so it didn't cost any of these people too much. It gave a slight breather there for Dave Miller. Oh, David Jakes is looking up the outside of Thiago going into the Bosch curve. Not the right place to be doing that, but it certainly looks like David may have a better car in the late stages here than Thiago does. He's just looking for the right place to get by. But Thiago has seen this movie before, and he knows that all you really have to do is to drive a little wider than normal, and you can probably keep David at bay. But right there, he had an excellent shot. It just turned out that he was on the wrong side of the track. Apparently, I'm giving Matt Hauser tinnitus. Sorry about that. But listening to me broadcast, you should know I get super animated when stuff happens.
Yannick is now really pushing there to
oh, yes, he is. Absolutely. Janik looking to get by Team. Team may be slightly rattled after that miscommunication with Chacon, but and you can see how much the cars are drifting. Coming into these turns now. They were doing that a lot less earlier. So the nature of how they handle is definitely getting more lively, shall we say, as they come up to. Oh, here's Janik looking up the inside. No, there's no room there. So, but look at Team. He's getting all crossed up and makes a mistake. Janik is right with him now, but I think any progress he could have made there was stunted by the fact that was right in the middle of the turn. Now they're heading down to the next turn. Janik can smell the blood in the water and knows that he might have a chance to advance one more place here.
And so does David Jacks, because he's now really close to Thiago Canola.
See, this is what I was afraid of. We're going to have multiple battles happening with a few laps to go, and we won't be able to show everything. Just like Brands Hatch. Looking from the chopper shot now, you can see the distance between the two. It's about 2 car lengths.
Here comes Yannick. No. Team. Oh, with that car there.
Oh, Fredriksson has run off the track. Fredriksson has run off the track and has brought the car to a stop, and he's quit. Fredriksson is out of the race. I'm not sure what precipitated that. Let's have a replay.
Yeah, that's really weird. What happened there?
Okay, so coming out of the turn, could it have been an engine letting go? I don't know. It certainly wasn't a disconnect because he brought the car to a halt.
It could be. Remember that the engines don't smoke anymore.
Oh, goodness, yeah. It looks like an engine failure because he just pulls right off the track. Yeah, that's an engine failure. Has to be.
Yeah, we already mentioned that at the beginning of the broadcast. Maybe running too much tape, and there you go.
Well, that's too bad.
Michael Griffiths has also quit.
No.
On the back, he was fighting with Gerard Rion some laps ago.
Oh, and We have to show a replay of this. Janik has gotten by John Team. Oh, Team got way out of shape in the left-handers. John Cook running wide there. But here's the replay of the pass. Janik manages to slide by as Team just absolutely ran out of grip, slid way wide, and just let Janik through into 7th place. Miller is running in 6th, just ahead of these two, so it would reason that Brian might want to take a shot at Miller before the race is over. Jakes is in 3rd, but he's lost some ground again to Thiago, so the top 3 look pretty solidified.
Yeah, now Brian Jani got some breathing room there on John Tim, who has been finally overhauled by that group. But he's not in danger of losing that position anytime soon because Juha Boss is well behind. So unless he makes any kind of error, he could be gunning for some points towards the end of the race. Same here for Lucas Vidra, that the engine of Jakob Fredriksson exploding has given him 1 point at least in this race. And I'd say that point is actually quite safe because Jan Prusa is well behind him.
So we don't have very long to go in the race now. And as I mentioned before, we're not going to see the championship wrapped up today, but I think it's pretty reasonable to suspect we will in the next round at Zandvoort. We'll see. Unless aliens abduct Grant.
Yes, Zandvoort is much smaller tracks. You won't see the cars stretching the differences so much. It's also very fun track to drive with also very quick corners. Very dangerous, but very fun to drive. And we should be seeing there some really spectacular driving.
I would think so.
Tossing the cars around.
So when Grant comes around now this time, he'll have 2 laps to go. Oop.
What happened there? Oh, Gerardo Magnano was there sitting in the middle of the chicane, and well, one of the worst places to be. Fortunately, he stood there and nobody collided.
Here's a replay. Yeah, it looks like he just missed his. It's similar to what happened on that left-hand turn in the middle of the course. Stopped there. Well, you know what? He's doing the right thing there because he knew that there were cars coming up, and he stopped. He's doing the exact right thing. So kudos to Gerardo. He's doing exactly what he should do. He's not re-entering the track because he knows that there are people coming. He does not want to cause a retirement because he's entering the track too quickly. So good job on him. He's just waiting for the right opportunity here to rejoin. And there he goes. So actually, he made himself a lot less of a hazard there by taking his time.
Ray Riddle is now trying to get by Adam Hackman. He had been moving steadily up the field after having crashed in the first laps. And now he might have a shot there at the 14th position. No, at the 13th position, sorry. Getting there close in the slipstream, but that won't suffice. Into the boss curb. Well, another slides way there. Oh, that must have hurt for Ray Riddle to be that much behind that he couldn't make the most of that opportunity.
Yeah, this is probably the closest battle on the circuit at the moment, but for 13th place between Adams back end slipping out there. Might be a chance for Ray Riddle here. His son is the star of the day, but Ray is in his own right an excellent driver. He's been having some good runs in Emerson Fittipaldi's Patrick Racing entry.
So, and Brad should be very close to that win. He's now on the back side of the track, but coming already close to the last turns.
Yep. Well, he's got one more lap to go after this one.
Yeah,
I miscounted.
He's on 23 laps now. Covered.
Yeah. So he's going to be starting his final lap. Oh my goodness, Grant has a bit of a Grant's making things extra interesting for us here. He had so his tires are most definitely used up. So he's going to have to be real careful going around here. I mean, Coming into the final turn here, he's got John Cook just in front of him, but I doubt he's going to be making much of an effort to get by him. He's got a 7-second lead right now, so clearly, and it was 9.5 seconds earlier roughly, so he's clearly been backing off. So we are now into the final lap of the race. Another fantastic performance from Grant Riddall. All he has to do is complete one circuit here, and you can tell by the way he's driving, he's not pushing the car very hard. He doesn't need to. With 7.5 seconds in hand, why would he? Or I'm sorry, I misidentified that car. That's actually Gerard Rion, not John Cook. Gerard not making it too easy for him to get. He was kind of running the middle line there, but now clearly knows that. Okay, come on, Gerard. Don't race with the leader when when you're a lap down. This is rather curious. What do you make of this, Alberto?
I think he probably has not realized that it's Grant who is behind him.
Because this is strange. I really can't really make any sense out of this. Not that it's paramount for Grant to get by him, but Gerard certainly hasn't been making it easy for Grant. I think Grant's gotten the message now that it's probably better to just hang back and not try to overtake. And there he is again. Oh, goodness. Well, it's academic now. Gerard goes off the track either on purpose or trying to make room. Maybe he finally realized what the situation was. Grant has got only 2 corners to go now. This critical portion here. And now he's going to be coming into the final turn here. Another dominating drive from Grant, and as my broadcast partner has indicated...
Now follow Brian Janik because he's trying to get Miller's position.
All right, so here comes Grant Riddall off the corner, goes to the pit wall to signal his crew, and Grant Riddall wins the 6th round at the Österreichring and extends his lead even further. Thiago Canola is going to finish 2nd, and David Jakes is in 3rd. Excellent race from Grant, and a very good round, very good race actually from Thiago and Dave too.
Look at Janik.
Oh, Janik, yeah, definitely with Dave Miller as they come around the corner here. This is the last opportunity that Janik will have, but it looks like Dave has got it locked up. Dave Miller is going to finish in 6th. Brian Janik is going to finish in 7th. Team finishes in 8th. 9th place is going to be Juha Boss. And actually, Vidra, because of the retirement of Jakob Fredriksson, if he can keep going, he's going to finish in 10th and score a point. So perseverance paying off for Lucas Vidra.
And Timo Vermeer's now making a move on Jan Prusa that didn't work. That was desperate before the last turn. Well, it was a good attempt, but it didn't work out.
So the top 10, once again, Grant Riddall wins, Thiago Canola 2nd, David Jakes 3rd, Peter Hlavik 4th, Martin Lacina 5th, David Miller in 6th, great drive from him, 7th for Brian Janik, excellent drive there too, John Thiem is 8th, Juha Boss finishes 9th, and Lucas Vidra in 10th. 11th, Jan Prusa, 12th, Timo Vermeers, 13th, Adam Hackman, 14th, Yves Placé, 15th, Alberto Aquino, 16th, and DNF actually, Ray Riddall, so he must have had an incident of some kind on the final lap. Gerard Rion 17th, John Cook is 18th, Bruno Chacon 19th, and we can't see the rest of the drivers there. We're going into the next section anyway. So that was what amounts to round 6 of the series after the cancellation, sorry, not cancellation, the postponement of the Hockenheim round. So we're going to move into the post-race session here. We'll see if anyone wants to go into the green room for an interview. While we are waiting for that, we will pause for a quick commercial message from Bavarian Motorworks, who produced the cars for this series. So we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Das Streben nach Vollkommenheit ist auch beim Automobil nicht billig, aber lohnend. Es gibt jetzt ein neues Format für die Mittelklasse, die kompakten BMW 316, 318, 320 und 320i. Diese neuen BMW besitzen bei Triebwerk und Fahrwerk, beim Innenraumkomfort und beim Systemangebot passiver Sicherheitseinrichtungen die Solidität und die überlegene Technik der BMW-Automobile großer Klassen. Übertragen und neu abgestimmt auf kompakteste Dimensionen. Wenn Sie also merken, dass Ihre Ansprüche den Standard der Mittelklasse verlassen haben, sollten Sie das Gleiche tun. Mit dem neuen BMW.
All right, welcome back. Let's have a look in the green room to see if anyone's there. And no one's in the green room. Well, I guess nobody wants to have an interview. Well, closing thoughts on this race, Alberto.
Well, it was as expected in the case, unless Grant was going to have any kind of hardware issue or engine failure, it was obvious that he was in the best position to win, and so he did. He is now heading very confidently into the next round, where he could wrap up the championship. And, well, on the other hand, it's a pity that we had those two big accidents at the beginning of the race that took several car outs and damaged others, because the track is so big and we could not see more action because of those early abandonments.
All right, well, before we close out the broadcast, one more reminder of what's coming up with HSO. Next Sunday, it's the Budweiser G.I. Joe 200. If any of you want to pick up the insanely fast, so fast it's scary, the Dale Coyne number 19 stock block, that car is going to be available for this race. Everybody get out of the way because there's going to be a mad rush for that car.
Certainly will.
Oh, yes. No, it's going to be like festival seating for a Who concert. You don't want to get in the way. Not smart. Then, the following Wednesday, bring your kids because it's the Audi Center's family motor. I'm sorry. Oh, I screwed up the delivery. It's the Audi Center's Family Motorsport Day. Dad, can I have an ice cream cone? No! Sorry. That is round 7 of 13. And that's Wednesday the 17th. And then Procar BMW Series returns with Zandvoort, round 7 of 9. And as we mentioned, we're probably going to see the championship wrapped up there. If you're a betting person, I would put my chips on that. But we will see what happens. So those are the races that are coming up, and there may be others that are being announced. I cannot be certain because I am not watching the admin portion of the forum as closely anymore.
Yes, we'll soon be announcing another Gold Star Open for April the 28th.
Oh, that's
so
3 weeks away.
Yes, but the Gold Star Opens, we announce them with more time so that people can practice. We will be racing open wheelers in South America.
Oh, goodness!
That's a novelty here, so stay tuned, but don't have a mad rush because, as usual, we will make the post and then open the entry list much later so that everybody can test the cars and see what they want. Yeah, there will be some nice racing.
All right, hopefully I can get the Judd power to put some points on the board in this case so the Amway people will stop bothering me. But anyway, we really appreciate everyone joining us. Alberto, your commentary, as always, spot on. Thanks very much. Hope that you have a good week.
Same to you, Jason.
All right.
It was a pleasure.
All right, so that was round 6 of the 1980 Procar Series at the Österreichring for Alberto Ibañez. This is Jason White saying so long from the Österreichring. We'll see you most likely next at Zandvoort in 2 weeks' time. Everybody take care. See you later.